guys, it's Chala from Crafting Through the Chaos of Life. Thanks so much for joining me for another video. Today's video is all about binding our signatures into our cover. Now, the last video we talked about creating signatures, and I kind of gave you my formula that I tend to follow. And I've gone ahead and put my signatures together. Now, I usually have about 10 to 15 pages. I have 13 pages per signature. Now, when I'm talking about pages, I'm actually counting my extras. So I have one extra in each signature. Okay, so we'll kind of flip through one and I'll show you what I mean about that. Okay, so let's just actually bring this back. So I have some specialty papers, which is book page. So this is actually from an art book. I have plain papers, so that's our plain papers, dyed papers, which can be lined, grid paper. So that falls under that category. So again, we usually have maximum of 4 plain papers per signature. So hopefully I've got that right. So we've got one there. I've got some scrapbook pattern or digital paper. There's our second of our plain papers. I have a specialty paper being coloring page. Again, I have some scrapbook paper. Now this one was a little different. I have like this one here. I kept it a little longer than the page itself so that I could create a flip out, or I can actually glue it and create a little tuck on the side there. Okay. Then I have my doily. So this is my one extra for this signature. And what I did is I actually folded the doily up about not quite half, and then I folded it in half again, so you can see here, and then that creates a nice little pocket for us to tuck something in. Okay. Then I have another plain paper, which is my dyed paper. I have some specialty paper, which is music book, and you can see some of the pages I have rounded and I have distressed the edges. I have another piece of plain paper, so that should be plain paper number 3, if I'm counting correctly. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4. Then I have another specialty book page. So this is a German English dictionary, a vintage book. Then I have more scrapbook paper. Oh, it looks like I've got more in here than 4, but that's okay. This is just a guideline. So that's 13 pages that I have in this one. In this next signature, I have started again with this beautiful art page. Now I've gone to my German dictionary, scrapbook paper, plain paper, specialty coloring book, plain dyed paper, and then in this one I have a pharmacy bag. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and cut the end of this pharmacy bag open so that I can have pockets on both sides. Now I want to quickly, before I forget sewing this in, I want to cut a notch in here. So I'm just going to grab where is it? There it is. It's actually right on my desk. My oval punch. This is a 2-inch oval, and I'm actually going to put that thumb notch in right away, just so I remember to do it. And let's just make sure that this is opening. I think I just need to trim that down a wee bit more. So I'll grab my scissors here and just give it a cut. And then we'll put our thumb notch in. So whatever you want to do to these pages, if you're wanting to do some painting on them or sewing on them. Uh-oh, this is not going to work well. Oh no, I ripped my bag. Okay. That's okay. Okay, well, I should have put another piece of paper in there. I'm not sure what happened. Oh, I think this is ready for the garbage. I did get this at Goodwill, so it lasted a heck of a lot longer than I had thought it would. I might have to it still work? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause you for a sec, and I'm going to get a new bag because, well, I kind of ruined this one. So give me 1 second. Okay, so I am going to keep this bag. I will actually do something with it. Maybe make a pocket out of it. But it's not what I'm going to use for this project. So I'm just going to set this aside. This is a bag that I think, what is this from? Oh, it's a little Lush bag. So I think there were some, ooh, it still smells nice, some smelly little bath bombs in there. And I just cut the end. So now I'm going to try that again. I'm going to cut the notch. But I'm actually going to use a piece of paper. For some reason, if your punch is giving you troubles, use a piece of paper, and that should help cut whatever you're trying to punch through. So let's try this again and see if this works. And hopefully I've got it somewhat centered, but if not, that's fine, not a big deal. Yeah, see, that works. I don't know why, guys, but if you find that your punch is giving you troubles, just put just a plain piece of copy paper, and it'll cut nicely for you. Okay, so I am going to, before I forget, I do want to just ink this up just to make that thumb notch stand out just a little bit more. And then we can decorate this up. And you can decorate it before you sew it in or after. I probably will do it after. What we got going on here? Let's just take that off. There we go. Let's be careful I'm not ripping this one now. This is just the extra folded over bit that I'm just pulling off there. Okay. Alright, that's just fine. We've got that one, and then this one already kind of has like an open spot. I'll just ink it up. Again, do what works for you. So I'm going to fold that in half, and then that will go in here. Okay. And then I have some dyed paper, or plain dyed paper. I've got more scrapbook paper. Another piece of plain kind of inky papers that my daughter did. Some more scrapbook paper. Specialty paper being this piece of music paper. And this was a lot longer, so I folded it over to create a pocket, inked it up. Some more scrapbook paper. And then we start all over. So that is that one. So we've got our extra piece in here, this bag. All right, and then, excuse me, our last, just close this up. Our last signature has, again, the art book paper, so specialty book page, plain piece. Then we have another fancy doily that was folded up to create like a little pocket. Some more scrapbook paper. This is thinner. This is like copy paper weight. Then we have some more plain paper. Then we have scrapbook, coloring book, dictionary, some more plain dyed paper, scrapbook paper. Again, this is folded over. Then we have some music paper. Again, notice that my music papers are different sizes, and that's okay. I just was trying to use, I think I used one whole signature piece out of a book, and then I had one single page that I cut in half and put in. So make them work for however you like them. So there we go. We've got 13 pages in each signature. Then you're going to arrange your signatures in what order you want them in. This is the order I want. I like this blue and kind of yellow. I think it will look quite nice when you open up this journal and see that. Okay, so if I put this in here, you can kind of see That's going to go in there nicely, and it's going to give me some room to sew it in as well as to do some decorating. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is my template. Now, again, this was a cracker box, just like this one. So this is the regular size. This is not the family size box. Again, remember we cut it down, and then I opened it up on, which side is it here? One of these sides. I think it's, oops, this one here. You can see how it's going to open up here. Okay, just like that. I take this piece and I save it. I actually save all these little pieces, but this piece I actually turn into a template. So this is a template I have. Because I use these boxes so often, it just makes sense that I have a template ready to go. So this I know is going to fit exactly in my spine perfectly. And I've measured everything out and spaced my holes evenly. So again, 3 signatures, 3 whole pamphlet stitch, and I just know that that is going to fit in there beautifully. It's going to be perfect, and I don't have to worry about trying to measure. So that's something that you might want to think about if you're using the same kind of materials over and over to create your covers. The next thing I'm going to do is I actually like to use my crocodile. So I have this fancy crocodile, and I use the small little punch, and that's what I use to create these holes. And I like to use that to punch the holes in my spine because I like to add eyelets to it. The reason why I like to do that is it gives it a little bit more security. It's not going to rip through your cardboard. And it's a nice finished look. It doesn't mean that you have to do that for all your journals. You can just punch the holes, or you can just use an awl to punch your holes as well. So an awl is just this sharp fancy thing, so I could just go ahead and poke holes through it like that, sew it through, no problem. But I want it to be a little more finished looking in my mind, so that's where I'm using my crocodile. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down and make sure it's kind of even on every side there, where it should be good. That's going to fold up nicely. Oh, let's close that. That'll fold there. That'll fold there. Perfect. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color in these holes. You could clamp this down with some alligator clips and then just re-punch through these holes, but I'm just going to do it this way. This works for me. There we go. Hopefully I can see all of those. Yeah, I can see those marks. You might not be able to, but I can. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save my template. I'm going to keep it someplace safe so I know where it is. Then I'm going to bring this bad boy in and just line up those holes, and we're going to punch through. So bear with me if I sound a little bit muffled here. There's one. Just trying to line it up as best as I can. There's 2. Three. Okay, so you see how they're nice and somewhat in line. It's fine if they're a little off. Not a big deal. No one's going to poke at you for that. But I'll go ahead and I'll punch these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have gone ahead, punched my holes, and I have placed my eyelets in, and I have crimped them down. There are tons of videos out there that you can watch on how to put eyelets in if you don't know how to do it. They do a much better job at explaining it, I think, than I could probably do. So go ahead and just kind of search around on the internet. You just want to make sure that if you're doing your, your eyelet, you want the nice side on the outside, and then the part that flattens out on the inside. Okay, so you're just going to put those in, squish them down, and we're good to go. Look how nice and neat that looks, right? Okay, so the next thing we want to do is take a look at our signatures. So I like to work from back to front. You can do it any way you like, but that's just kind of how I like to work when I have multiple signatures. So I'm going to flip my signatures over. I know this is my last one. And the next thing I want is either some paper clips or some alligator clips. So I'm just going to grab some alligator clips. And we're going to get our papers and make sure that they're in there nice and even and however we want them laid in there, right? So making sure everything is going to look nice. Have, you know, my shorter papers, I've got them where I want them to be. I think everything looks fairly good. Maybe I'll do that one a little more even distance. And then scooch this up a bit. Again, it doesn't matter. I'm really overthinking it at this point, but okay, good enough for me. Making sure everything's nice and pushed down in there, and then I'm going to open it up. Ooh, I have to straighten that out again. Okay, and then I'm going to take my alligator clips and plop them in like this. So one here, and then I fold them over. Then I'm going to turn it and fold it this way, flop it over, all the while making sure it's nice and tight in there. Let's pop this one in, and then this one in. Now, because we have spun it around so many times, we want to make sure we know which way is up. This seems to have a little bit of a bubble in it, so let's fix that. So you want to make sure your signature is not going to be bound in upside down. So let's take a look here. So this is the correct way up. Now, I have this big margin here. I want to switch this page around. That is kind of upside down for my liking. So you'll want to go through and make sure before you sew this in that everything is exactly the way you want it. So you don't have to undo it. And I'm going to double check and make sure that everything is facing the proper way up. So my pocket's going the right way here. Flowers are going the right way. Words are going the right way. Oh, that's interesting. That looks like it might be upside down. Is it? No, that's right. The butterflies are right. Are they? But are they? Oh no, that's right. Okay. That guy, because even if I turned it this way, yeah, it goes this way. Okay, I just wanted to double check. Okay. Making sure the rest of them are all the way turned properly. My music is not upside down. Okay, this is upside down. Yep, that's better. So good thing I checked, because nobody wants to tear apart what they've just sewn in. Do I have 13? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, this one's got 14. Okay, well that's fine. Maybe they all have 14 in them instead of 13. Something like that. It doesn't matter. Does not matter at all, actually. Okay. Let's try this again. Clip it on, flip them down, and turn. Clip it on, push it down, turn. This little guy, like so. And I got a little bubble again. Good. One more for good measure, and that just keeps everything secure for me. Alright, the next step we need to do is I'm going to bring in this little kind of like self-healing mat, just so when I use my awl to put the holes in the center of my pages, that I am not going to dig it into my glass mat, because that is the worst sound ever. If you've ever heard, you know, glass on glass type of thing. Makes my teeth itch, actually. Okay, so if you look on my template, I have made dark little lines on where I made the lines go across, and I've done just little notches on each side. So this is going to help me figure out where I need to poke the hole for the awl. So I'm actually going to, now this might be a little difficult for you guys to see. I'm going to try, so this should fit in there nicely. So you want to make sure it's nice at the top and bottom. I try to make sure that it's about the same size as my page, so it's easy to measure. And then I'm going to try and zoom you guys in. Okay. And it's kind of easier for me to do it this way. Okay, and I'm going to take my awl and I'm going to start at the middle. So I want it right here where that line is. So I'm just pushing down right in the center of that crease. Okay, and then I'm going to try and just push it through a bit. It comes out. This is the tricky part. There we go, so I've got it coming through now. There's the one hole. Okay. It's easy enough for me to line right back up, and you can actually, you know, clip this right into here too if you don't want it to move around. I know you probably can't see this right now, but just clip it here. Back up, there we go. So see, I've just kind of clipped that in. Now I'm just going to line this up again, hook it in, and push it through, and then the same thing on the bottom. And making sure it's straight, push it through. There we go. So I've got the holes that I can now put my needle through to sew in my signature, which theoretically should line up magically with these holes here that we already made, because we're using the same measurement. So I'm not having to re-measure everything over and over again. I've done it simply with my template. Okay, I'm going to zoom you out for a little bit. The next thing we want to do, you can go ahead and do all your holes all at once in all of your signatures, but to move things along quickly for you guys, I'm just going to go ahead and sew this one signature in. And how I do that is I have this waxed thread here. You can use embroidery threads, string, twine, whatever you have. I like to use this waxed thread because it slides through nicely and it doesn't kind of rip the page. So whatever you're doing, it's usually about 3 times the length of the height of your journal or your pages, okay? So we're gonna go 1, 2, and 3, and cut. Now I'm gonna find my little needle, which I keep right here, and I'll just thread this through like so. Now to do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I am going to do it so that my strings come back through this middle hole, and that's where I'm going to tie it in the center of my signature. Now that might not make sense right now, but follow along here and it'll make sense hopefully as we work through it. So I'm going to take my thread, and now you can have your strings tie in the middle here on the inside, or you can have them tie on the outside. That is completely up to you. I like to keep the back side of my journal nice and neat looking, unless I'm going to sew on buttons or beads or what have you. So I like to keep my ties in the middle of my book, or right in the center, okay, at the center of that signature. So I'm going to go through this hole, and easier said than done, I guess. Let's bring my awl back and make sure that there's a big enough hole. There we go. So I'm going to go in like this, and I'm going to go in that middle hole, which is all nice and neat because we have those eyelets. And then I'm going to pull through, and I'm going to leave a tail. Okay? Then I am going to go, you can go down, or you can go from the top. I'm going to go from the top. So I'm going to pull this through first, make it a little easier on myself, and then I push it right through that hole that we made at the top. So again, we're going to double check that we're sewing it in our book right side up. So there's the right side of my journal. This one's a little harder to tell if it's upside down or not, but I can tell I like this look, so that's going to be my front side. I'm going to pull that through. Sometimes you might need a little bit of help from your good friend needle nose pliers. Just pull that through. There we go. Okay. So this is where you can kind of change it up in how you sew in your journal. If you want, you can go back in through this hole and then come back up this way, but I want both my strings to come back up through here at the end. So I'm going to jump over this middle hole into the bottom hole. And looks like I need to make that just a wee bit bigger. There we go. So putting it in through that bottom hole, and then through this hole down here. Hopefully you guys can see, trying not to knot things up here. Alright, and now I'm going to kind of give it a little bit of a tug. Careful not to stab yourself with your needle. Just giving it a little tug, just so that everything's nice and tight. Now I want to go back in this hole here. The one thing you do want to make sure that you're very careful with is that you don't split your threads, because if you split your threads with your needle, you're not going to get a nice tight pull on it, and it could make your signature loose like this, okay? So when you go through, I'm going to hold this string up and out of the way, pulling it nice and snug, okay? And then I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to go through, and I can see that I'm not going to catch my thread there because I'm pulling it out of the way. So I can see the hole here, so I'm going to put it through that hole first. And then you can loosen it off a bit so that you can see the other hole. Again, making sure that you don't split that thread. Now this is very awkward to hold it at an angle that you guys can see. I'm just going to make sure I'm not splitting that, so bear with me. This is a little tricky for me to do on this angle. Let's try this way. I'm going to pull this up and out of the way. There we go. And perfect, I did not split my threads. So ideally, I want to kind of come up on the other side. So this string is coming to the left here. Ideally, I want this to go through on the right side so that I have one tail on either side. Okay? Now, there's a little bit of fendangling that I'm going to do here just to make sure I have enough length of string, because ideally you want them to be somewhat similar, right, in length, not the end all be all if they're not. So now we're going to pull it nice and tight, can actually take these off now because that's adding a little bit of bulk I don't want. So everything should be nice and secure in there. I'm going to turn it right side back up. I know it's right side back up because I have that top margin here. Okay, and then we're going to do our knot. Just like that. Making sure these are nice and tight, not too loose, not too tight either. So yeah, it's secure. It's not wiggling around. Okay, so then I'm going to knot it again. From here, you can trim your ends and just have small little loose ends. You could tie charms on the end and have them hanging out the bottom or up out through the top, or you can tie a bow. I'm not sure what I'm going to do at this point, so for now I'm just going to leave them just like that, and then I'll figure out what I want to do after and then decorate it from there. Okay, so again, just making sure everything's nice and tight, that I'm not too loose. No, pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to go and do the exact same thing on my next signatures. So I'm going to come back and show you the finished sewn in project. Hopefully, hopefully I've done a fairly good job of explaining this, that you guys can, you know, follow along and you don't need to see it a second time. Just rewind it if you need to watch it again. I know it's not the best angle and things are a little wonky, but bear with me. The more you do it, the easier it is. So I'll be back once these are all sewn in. Okay guys, so I have gone ahead and sewn in the rest of the signatures. Again, you want to make sure that you are double checking your signatures before you sew them in, making sure that everything is the right way up, everything is how you like it. And yeah, look at this. We have a journal that is all ready to decorate. Now, you can leave it like this and then decorate as you go. However, I want to put these up for sale, so I am going to decorate them with some tags and journal cards and all sorts of fun flippy flappies and what have yous. So yeah, I made sure there was 14 pages in each signature. I just wanted to make sure I had the same number. You don't have to, it's not a big deal, but just so it's easier for me when I go to list these for sale, that I know the correct number of pages. Now when we're talking pages, this is one thing I want to clarify. I'm just going to grab a page. When we're talking about pages and signatures, how do you determine the number of pages? Well, if you have one piece of paper, so this is one piece of paper, we fold it in half, right? This now gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. So I know that I have 14 full pages, so I'm going to multiply that by 4. So one signature should give us, let's do the math, make sure I'm doing this right, I'm not telling you guys lies, because math and me. So I've got 14 full pages times 4, so that's 56 pages in one signature. Multiply that by 3 signatures, if they all have the same number of pages, is going to give us 168 pages in this one journal. Crazy, right? Crazy to think that, but that is 168 pages here. Okay? So as you can see, all my signatures are nice and kind of even because we use the template. They're even, nothing's hanging out. You can have stuff hanging out, tabs and what have you, but everything's all nice and even because we've used this template. Okay, all my little strings here, I've just got them at the bottom for right now. I'll decide, you know, I can do one charm in the middle and then do bows on the other 2. It doesn't matter, just or you could have all three with charms or beads, however you like it. It's your journal, you decorate it how you like it. So just again, going through and making sure these are nice and tight, that they're not too loose, because nothing is worse than having a journal and having it fall apart. Now, if you happen to sew it in upside down or something's not quite right, you can clip it and start over. That's not a big deal. But look at this. We now have a journal that is all ready to decorate. So the next thing I'll show you in my next video is, let's see, what will we do? I think what we'll do is, I might show you how to put corners on. I was kind of thinking of these corners to put on it, these metal corners, and that's just to give it a little bit of security so we don't mess up our corners. So if we drop the book, it's not going to end up putting a dent in our corner. It just finishes it off nicely. I think it looks nice. So we could use, we've got these shiny ones, and we have these ones here, if I can get them open. So I'm just trying to think which ones I like better. And this is a tough call. Either would work really well. So I'll just kind of show you here. One is shiny and one is kind of more a rusty gold, if that makes sense. So there's that one, and then there's the shiny one. To tell you the truth, I think I like these ones here. I might go with these ones. But I'll show you how to put those on in the next one, as well as I want to do a, oh, I'm putting them in the wrong ones. I want to also show you how I do a simple closure. So there's many different ways that we could do closures. Remember when we started our journal, how we put this flat piece down? What we could have done is laid a piece of ribbon or sari silk in there underneath, glued it down, and then glued this piece down so that it was kind of tucked under there. I sometimes don't like that because it leaves that bump. So what I'm going to just do is I'm going to use our eyelets again. I'm going to use a little bit bigger one, but kind of in the same color tone as these. And then we'll just probably do sari silk to tie it closed. And then I'm also going to share with you in another video how I decorate them. My formula again for pockets, tags, that sort of thing. So all sorts of different ephemera pieces that I'm going to use. And so I'll give you kind of a cheat sheet on how many of each thing you could kind of have to fill out a journal. Again, you can mix and match. This is not the end all be all, but if you're struggling with, how many pockets to put in each signature, how many tags, this will kind of help you. So stay tuned in my next video for that. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. Again, the importance of creating a template, especially with things that you're going to use over and over again, making sure that your signatures are the right way up, everything is nice and snug in there, that your signature tie-ins are nice and tight. Alright guys, thank you so much as well to all my new subscribers who have come by. I appreciate you guys. If you like this video and thought it had some value for you, go ahead and please give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Let me know if there's something in particular you'd like to see. And again, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future videos, especially with respect to part of this series for the Ultimate Beginners Junk Journaling. Alright guys, thanks again so much, and P.S. I love you.